Hello dear children. In this video, we will be discussing the second chapter of Geography, class 9, the physical features of India. India is a vast country and has various types of landforms. In fact, India has practically all major physical features of the earth, that is mountains, plains, deserts, plateaus and islands. In this video, we will be discussing the major physiographic divisions of India, starting with the Himalayan mountains, the northern plains, the peninsular plateau, the Indian desert, coastal plains, and the islands. The Himalayas, geologically young and structurally fold mountains, stretch over the northern borders of India. These mountains run in a west-east direction from Indus to the Brahmaputra and borders India towards the north. The Himalayas represent the loftiest and one of the most rugged mountain barriers of the world. They form an arc which covers a distance of about 2,400 kilometers. Their width varies from 400 kilometers in Kashmir to 150 kilometers in Arunachal Pradesh. The altitudinal variation are greater in the eastern half than those in the western half. Now children, let us classify the Himalayas on the basis of its longitudinal extent. The Himalayas consist of 3 parallel ranges in its longitudinal extent. A number of valleys lie between these ranges. The northernmost range is known as the Great or Inner Himalayas or the Himadri. It is the most continuous range of the loftiest peak with an average height of 6,000 meters above the sea level. It contains all the prominent Himalayan peaks. The folds of Great Himalayas are asymmetrical in nature. The core of this part of Himalayas is composed of granite. It is perennially snow-bound and a number of glaciers descend from this range. The range lying to the south of the Himadri forms the most rugged mountain system and is known as Himachal or Lesser Himalayas. The ranges are mainly composed of highly compressed and altered rocks. The altitude varies between 3,700 and 4,500 meters and the average width is of 50 kilometers. While the Pir Panjal range forms the longest and the most important range, the Dhauladhar and the Mahabharat ranges are also prominent ones. This range consists of the famous Kullu Valley, Kashmir Valley and the Kangra Valley in Himachal Pradesh. This region is well known for its hill stations. The outermost range of the Himalayas, marked as number 3 in the map, is called the Shivaliks. They extend over a width of 10 to 50 kilometers and have an altitude varying between 900 to 1100 meters. These ranges are composed of unconsolidated sediments brought down by the rivers from the main Himalayan ranges located further north. These valleys are covered with the thick gravel and alluvium. The longitudinal valleys lying between Lesser Himalayas and the Shivaliks are known as the Dunes. Dehradun, Kotli Dun, and the Patli Dun are some of the well-known dunes. Children, beside the longitudinal divisions, the Himalayas have been divided on the basis of regions from west to east. These divisions have been demarcated by the river valleys. For example, the part of Himalayas lying between Indus and Satluj has been traditionally known as Punjab Himalayas, but it is also known regionally as Kashmir and Himachal Himalayas from west to east respectively. The part of Himalayas lying between Satluj and Kali rivers is known as Kumaon Himalayas. The Kali and the Tista rivers demarcate the Nepal Himalayas, and the part lying between Tista and the Hang rivers is known as Assam Himalayas. Beyond the Dihang Gorge, the Himalayas bend sharply to the south and spread along the eastern boundary of India. They are known as Purvanchal or the Eastern Hills and Mountains. These hills running through the northeastern states are mostly composed of strong sandstones, which are sedimentary rocks covered with dense forest. They are mostly running parallel ranges and valleys. The Purvanchal comprises the Patkai Hills, the Naga Hills, Manipur Hills, and the Mizo Hills. The second physiographic division of India is known as the Northern Plains. The Northern Plains has been formed by the interplay of the three major river systems, namely the Indus, the Ganga, and the Brahmaputra, along with their tributaries. This plain is formed of alluvial soil. The deposition of alluvium in a vast basin lying at the foothills of the Himalayas over millions of years formed this fertile plain. It spreads over an area of 7 lakh square kilometers, the plain being about 2400 kilometers long and 240 to 320 kilometers broad, is a densely populated physiographic division with a rich soil cover combined with adequate water supply and favorable climate. It is agriculturally a very productive part of India. The Northern Plains is broadly divided into three sections. The western part of the Northern Plain is referred to as Punjab Plains, formed by the Indus and its tributaries. The larger part of this plain lies in Pakistan. The Indus and its tributaries, the Jhelum, the Chenab, the Ravi, and the Beas and Satluj, originate in the Himalayas. This section of the plain is dominated by Doab. The Ganga plain extends between Ghaggar and Tista river. It spreads over the states of North India, Haryana, Delhi, UP, Bihar, partly Jharkhand and West Bengal, and to its east lies the third section of the Northern Plains, particularly lying in the Assam region, and is known as the Brahmaputra Plain, mainly made by the work of the Brahmaputra River. Children, the Northern Plains can also be divided according to the variation in relief features. The Northern Plains can be divided into 4 regions. The rivers, after descending from the mountains, deposit pebbles in a narrow belt of 8 to 16 kilometers in width, lying parallel to the slopes of the Shivaliks. It is known as Bhabbar. All the streams disappear in this Bhabbar belt. Secondly, south of this belt, the streams and rivers re-emerge and create a wet, swampy and marshy region known as Terai. The forests of this region have been cleared to create an agricultural land and to settle migrants from Pakistan after partition. The third in the row is the largest part of the Northern Plain, also known as Older Alluvium. They lie above the floodplains of the rivers and present a terrace-like features. They are regionally known as Bhangar. The soil in this region contains calcareous deposits locally known as Kankar. The fourth in the row is the newer, younger deposits of the floodplains and are called as Khadar. They are renewed almost every year and so are fertile, thus ideal for intensive agriculture. The third physical feature of India is in form of a plateau, which is known as the Peninsular Plateau. It is a tableland composed of the old crystalline igneous and metamorphic rock. This plateau consists of 2 broad divisions, namely the Central Highlands and the Deccan Plateau. The part of the Peninsular Plateau lying to the north of the Narmada River, covering a major area of Malwa Plateau, is known as the Central Highlands. The Vindhyan Range is bounded by the Central Highlands on the south and Aravallis on the northwest. The further westward extension gradually merges with the sandy and rocky desert of Rajasthan. The flow of the rivers drained this region, namely the Chambal, the Sindh, the Betwa and Ken, is from southwest to northeast, thus indicating the slope. The Central Highlands are wider in the west but narrower in the east. The eastward extension of this plateau are locally known as Bundelkhand and Bhagelkhand. The Chota Nagpur plateau marks the further eastward extension drained by the Damodar River. The second division of the peninsular plateau is known as the Deccan Plateau. It is a triangular landmass that lies to the south of the river Narmada. The Satpura range flanks its borders base in the north, while the Mahadev, the Kaimur Hills and the Maikal range forms its eastern extension. The Deccan Plateau is higher in the west and slopes gently eastwards. An extension of the plateau is also visible in the northeast, locally known as Meghalaya, Karbi Anglong Plateau, and northern Chashar Hills. It is separated by a fault from the Chota Nagpur Plateau. Three prominent hill ranges from the west to east are the Garo, the Khasi, and the Jaintia Hills. Now children, we are going to discuss the Western Ghats and the Eastern Ghats. They mark the western and the eastern edges of the Deccan Plateau respectively. Western Ghats lie parallel to the western coast. They are continuous and can be crossed through passes only. Western Ghats are higher than the Eastern Ghats. Their average elevation is 900 to 1600 meters as against 600 meters of the Eastern Ghats. The Eastern Ghats stretch from Mahanadi Valley to the Nilgiris in the south. The Eastern Ghats are discontinuous and irregular and dissected by rivers draining into the Bay of Bengal. The Western Ghats cause orographic rainfall, whereas the Eastern Ghats are affected by cyclonic or frontal rainfall during the winters in the period of northeast monsoons. The Western Ghats progressively increase from north to south. The highest peak, including Anai Modi, 2,695 meters, whereas Mahendragiri is the highest peak of the Eastern Ghats. One of the distinct feature of the Peninsular Plateau is the black soil area known as the Deccan Trap. This is of volcanic origin, hence the rocks are igneous. Actually, these rocks have denuded over time and are responsible for the formation of black soil. Next physical feature of India is the Indian desert, which lies towards the western margins of the Ravli Hills. It is an undulating sandy plain covered with sand dunes. It has arid climate with low vegetation cover. Crescent-shaped dunes cover larger areas, but longitudinal dunes become more prominent near the Indo-Pakistan boundary. The Luni is the only large river found in the Thar Desert region of India. The Peninsular Plateau is flanked by the stretch of narrow coastal strips running along Arabian Sea on the west and Bay of Bengal on the east. The western coast sandwiched between the Western Ghats and the Eastern Ghats is in form of a narrow plain consisting of three sections: the Konkan coast, the Malabar coast and the Kannada coast, whereas the eastern coastal plain, which is situated along the Bay of Bengal, are wide and level. In the northern part, it is referred to as the Northern Circus, whereas in the southern part, they are referred as Coromandel Coast. The last physiographic division of India are the island groups. The Lakshadweep island group lying close to the Malabar coast of Kerala. Earlier they were known as Laccadive, Minocoy and Amandive. In 1973, these were named as Lakshadweep Islands. It covers a small area of 32 square kilometers. Kavaratti Island is the administrative headquarters of the Lakshadweep Islands. Next is the Andaman and Nicobar Islands, which lie in the Bay of Bengal. They are bigger in size and are numerous and scattered. The entire group of islands is divided into broad categories, the Andaman in the north and Nicobar in the south. It is believed that these islands are an elevated portion of submarine mountains. These island groups are of great strategic importance for the country. There is a great diversity of flora and fauna found in both the island groups of India. So children, at the end of this video, we can say that a detailed account of the different physiographic units highlights the unique feature of each region. It would, however, be clear that each region complements the other and makes the country richer in its natural resources. Thank you and God bless you. Please take care of yourselves. Have a nice day.